You are listening to the Marc Guzman Podcast Experience. Before we get started, just a reminder that you can find all of my available rental properties on my website at marcguzman.com. If you own investment property, click on the Owner Services section to see our complete list of services. This episode is brought to you by Beniqued Commercial Real Estate. There's more to building wealth in real estate than simply buying and holding. You need to have an entry and exit strategy. You need to know when to invest, have a plan to maximize return during the holding period, and have an exit strategy to sell and exchange the property into a bigger investment. This takes a set of highly qualified professionals to guide you from buying your first investment property to eventually upgrading to the 100-unit complex, providing wealth for you and your family. Brian Beniqued and David Peel have over 35 years of combined experience specializing in helping families build wealth through real estate. They assist you in putting your investment on autopilot and will guide you along each exchange. Visit them at www.bcre.co. Again, that's www.bcre.co to give your future a jumpstart. On June 5th, Bay Area voters will be faced with a decision, and not just in primary elections for several state leadership positions. Next month's ballot includes Regional Measure 3, which seeks to raise bridge tolls by $3 to help fund 35 projects that include expanding and fixing highways and improving mass transportation. This would give the Bay Area transportation a much-needed boost and could bring even more people to the Bay Area. But is this a correct way to do it? How would this move impact housing and living in the Bay Area? Today we have Zulien Morales from State Farm to talk about how Regional Measure 3 could impact the real estate market in the Bay Area. All right, Zulien, thank you for being on the podcast.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, so I'm excited here. So I'd like to start off by asking people what has your attention? What's catching your attention right now? It could be something entertainment. It could be something in your business, in the industry. It can be a movie. It could be music, whatever it is. What's got your attention right now?
What's got my attention right now? Cardi B has my attention right now.
Okay.
She is someone that I didn't know nothing about, and I was home pregnant, waiting for my son to arrive, and she was on Ellen. And just her story and where she comes from and her music and trying to understand that she's intrigued me, that's one thing. Business-wise.
Is she from the Bay Area?
No, Cardi B's from the Bronx.
Okay.
So she's with J-Lo over there and,
okay.
And so her music and stuff. So I'm just trying to be cooler. So I'm trying to get to know Cardi B. But I don't understand what she's saying. So that's my problem. Industry-wise, what's in my business, what's got my attention is, obviously real estate, what's going on with it, cost of living, that kind of stuff, paying attention to what's going on there. Because, I've got clients that are renting, want to become homeowners, or clients that are just overall in real estate, right? They want to know more about it. So everything's kind of catching my attention. Everything that's going on in the news is sad. So I try to follow on an app versus trying to watch local news. Because I sometimes feel local news can be a little depressing. So I
stopped watching the local news like 10 or 15 years ago. Yeah. And a lot of it is very biased, and they don't report the whole picture too.
Right.
Now you also find that a lot online too nowadays. Yeah. But I mean, what's sad to you? What have you been seeing lately that's been sad?
The tragedies, obviously, the school shootings. That's always so sad, and then there's the whole thing with gun control. All of that is super, super sad to me, because I think school should be a safe zone for children. I shouldn't worry about sending my kids to school. So that also catches your attention as a parent. And then, of course, you think about law enforcement, what's going on there. So, I think the Bay Area is crazy. So I think everything's capturing our attention. So it's all very sad. We've had a lot of close calls here in the Bay Area, with what happened in Napa, and that's really sad. You think about the veterans and how they're coming home, and are we doing enough for them? So there's a lot of stuff that just kind of is going on in my mind. So just trying to be a good human though at the same time. Right?
Yeah.
Do good.
Yeah. Yeah. I think if everyone just focused on trying to be a better version of who they are, I think it would make a huge difference.
Yeah.
But many times it's so hard to keep that type of mindset because shit happens, right?
Yeah.
I mean, life happens. We're all worried about bills and expenses and what's going on in our own personal lives, that to then on top of it keep an overall view on how to be a better human and better for society can get very difficult.
Yeah, absolutely. I was with social media, I've always been a little semi-private. So I'm trying to, even in my social media, try to be more positive, right? I post about my kids, or, I went on and did a quick live video that I was coming here and how super nervous I was. And, just
see, it's
send
not
me
that bad,
vibes.
right?
Ask me when it's over. No, it's not that bad. But, just trying to put that good stuff out there. I'm about doing good deeds, and I was never one about posting them on social media. But I felt like with all this stuff going on social media, it's always nice to maybe see people doing good. So even if it's paying it forward with the guy at Starbucks behind you, it's like, hey, I just did this good deed. Let me challenge you to do it, or, post your next good challenge or your good deed, because it's just putting that good vibes out there. I think we need more good vibes.
Yeah, there definitely has to be a lot more positivity. It's very easy for people to get very negative online, especially when they're hidden behind, being a keyboard warrior. You're hidden behind, this veil of privacy, right?
Yes.
Or this lack of, I guess, identity online, and you could really just say whatever you want. And my girlfriend used to do bodybuilding, right? And she would compete, and there's different classes, and but the amount of negativity from both females and males against women who want to get toned and then display and compete on stage is incredible. I mean, there's photos that you see on Instagram, even to this day, and the number of negative comments by both male and female is surprising. It's like, why? This is what they love to do. Right. This is their passion. Just let them do it.
Yeah.
You can congratulate them, but you don't have to spend time being negative and leaving a negative comment,
Absolutely. And I think that's my downfall, or my hesitation with social media, or why I may or may not like it, because it does give people a platform. But I thought it would be a platform to do good, but it kind of can get spun, like you said, on a negative level, and it just starts spreading this stuff, and it's a domino effect. So I power to her for doing that, you know what I mean, and getting out there and doing that. And we just need to be kinder to each other. We need to practice kindness.
Yeah. And speaking of good vibes, I'll be at Cali Roots in Monterey this weekend, 3-day reggae festival. So plenty of good vibes there.
Yeah, plenty of good vibes. That's what we want, and do a Facebook Live. Show us that.
There's the internet connection there is extremely tough, because so many people show up, and it's at the Monterey Fairgrounds, and so the number of people there just bogs down the entire bandwidth.
Oh, absolutely. We fight for bandwidth at home,
with
my kids and my husband and stuff. So, Comcast is making money off of us because we need more speed.
Right, yeah. Now, you're with State Farm.
I am.
So let's talk just very briefly about your business and what you do and how you help clients.
Oh my gosh. Okay. So, obviously when you think of State Farm, people think about home and auto insurance, but there's also a big passion of mine where we talk about life insurance. We always make it a point in my office to also talk to them about that, because, the lenders require you to buy home insurance, or you're renting, you need to get renter's insurance, you got to get auto insurance, and people never really talk about life insurance. And, that's the one product, one insurance that you're going to be 100% going to have a claim on, right? Because we're all going to have to pass on one day. And that's really my big passion about it. And the reason I talk about it and why I'm an advocate for life insurance is because my father was killed by a drunk driver and left my mom widow with 3 children, and they didn't have life insurance. So if we can, educate clients about how it helps your family and your loved ones, is really important to me. So it's not to make a sale or any of that. It's really how impactful it is for families to have that protection. So we also do business insurance. State Farm's a large company. We're number one in auto and home insurance. But these are all the other products that we have. And I'm all about educating my clients, especially my Latinos, because I feel like they're underserved. And we want to always take them to the next level.
Now, speaking of Latinos, you're also a member, and what position do you hold with NAHREP?
I'm president.
Okay, congratulations.
Thank you for 2018. Yes. So I'm also involved with them as well. So
now, are you president of the national or the local chapter?
The local chapter,
okay.
The San Ramon Valley chapter. So we do a lot with lenders and realtors, educating them what's going on with the market. We bring guests and try to share that and have them take that back to their clients, right? Things that are happening in the market, interest rates, increasing. How is that going to affect, nuestra gente?
Mm-hmm.
Because it does affect qualification, income, all that kind of stuff. So it's very important to always, keep your eye on what's going on. And we always got to keep an eye on our money, right?
Yeah. Now, for a lot of the listeners or the viewers that are not familiar with NAHREP, so it stands for the National Association of Hispanic Real Estate Professionals, correct?
Yes.
So,
it's a national organization.
Yeah, I remember it came about, I want to say in 2007. Is that correct?
Yeah.
Yeah, I kind of remember that
Mm-hmm.
because I started getting into foreclosures, and at that same time, I do remember NAHREP being developed. And there was a local, I think there might have been a local West Contra Costa chapter or Contra Costa chapter.
Yeah.
I don't know if it was the same chapter.
There were several chapters in the Bay Area, and when the crash came, it was consolidated to the Bay Area chapter. And obviously, we've made a comeback, and I mean comeback in the market. And NAHREP has been there, but their role is also growing, and so we've got a Silicon Valley chapter here in the Bay Area. We've got the Central Valley, Sacramento. So NAHREP overall national is looking to grow the chapter, and bring it back to its glory days here in the Bay Area.
Yeah. Now, recently for the Contra Costa Association Realtors, you were on the panel for the Cultural Diversity Exchange. Mm-hmm. We just had Keith Robinson here on the show, who was the moderator for that.
Funny guy.
Yeah, great guy. And it was a really good panel. It was a really good educational, I want to say seminar. It was a great event.
Yeah.
And what was your biggest takeaway from that?
Well, the diversity, loved it. Yeah. Great event. I agree with you 100%. What I loved about it is that at the end of the day, with all these different organizations, we still have here in the Bay Area some issues, right, with the real estate as far as programs, availability, obviously market constraints, and we still share that. We still share that across the board, and obviously we lobby. We want the equality out there. So whether it be equality for the Latinos, I know we had the LGBT. He was there as well, and what's going on, with equality for them and bringing that on board. And so I thought it was a great event. But I think that that's what we share is we still want that same message of home ownership, attaining it. There's that misconception, that we had that, Asians market, they're great at savings. They're great. They don't need the down payment assistance kind of programs, but they still need it because of credit. You know, they may have the money, but they don't have the credit. So it was a great. I mean, I
just really seeing all the different challenges
channels.
that everyone has.
Yeah, and we all struggle with stuff. So it was nice. I really enjoyed having all of us up there and just sharing what we need in housing. So
yeah,
I liked it.
So let's talk about Measure 3, okay? Because June 5th is coming up, and Californian voters are going to be making a decision on this. Yeah. And I wanted to get your opinion on what you thought about this measure. And just for the people that are not familiar with Measure 3, this would basically increase the bridge tolls by $3 over the next 3 years, with a $1 hike in 2019, I think one in 2022, and one in 25. It's supposed to bring in $4.5 billion that's going to go toward BART cars, I believe, expansion of BART to San Jose, Golden Gate. Well, actually, the Golden Gate Bridge is not included in this, but they plan to really use these funds to help build out some more transportation options for a lot of the people in the Bay Area. Yeah. So I want to get your opinion. Is this good, and how is this going to affect the people here?
Yeah, you know, I'm torn by this measure. I definitely feel we do need better, you know, we need wider freeways, but then with wider freeways comes these toll lanes that, you know, yes, it's a love-hate relationship with the toll lanes. We do need better public transportation. I have family members that commute on BART, and I get nervous because I don't feel safe on BART. You know, the attacks that happen, you know, you see all these increases happening, right? I mean, we're seeing increases everywhere. And then I think about myself at home. My husband's a commuter. He crosses the bridge and the Bay Bridge every day. And just these expenses keep happening. We've had our registrations fees went up last year. Governor Brown, you know, pushed for that, and that was supposed to help with transportation. But we're not really seeing it, right? So
I think overall you don't see it as much. Because, number one, California is a huge state. Yeah. And then number two, I think there's also a lot of wasted money in projects.
I
there's
agree. Yeah.
I mean, if you look at the railroad project that they've been talking about, I mean, what was that approved 8-10 years ago?
Right.
And I mean, what have they done with it? They haven't done anything with it. Right. And by the time they finish building it out, the number of billions of dollars that they're going to spend building this out to save people how much time? Because guess what? You can take a Southwest. I know people that commute down to L.A. Southwest. Flight in the morning, they're there. Flight in the evening, they're back home.
Right. Yeah. No, absolutely. I don't see alleviation in we just live in a congested area. You know what I mean? We live in, you know, the Bay Area we're heavy. Silicon Valley is here. We attract people. I mean, yes, we hear about people leaving the state. I don't think that they're leaving as much to alleviate some of the people that are coming in, and also keeping in mind that you know, kids are growing up, they're driving, we're adding more vehicles to the road. So
let me touch on something you just mentioned right now: the people that are moving in and people moving out of California. So recently, this was last week, Mechanics Bank, big bank here in the Bay Area, they invited me out to one of their special seminars. They had Chris Thornburg from Beacon Economics. I think they're down in San Diego. But he flew out here to give us a California economic update, along with a Bay Area update, and more specifically, an East Bay update. So this was held in Walnut Creek at the Lesher Center. And I was excited for this because I highly respect this guy as an economist. He's one of the smartest economists in the world, and he specializes in California. And so this guy is super bright. And he came out and he was showing us statistics about the California economy, because we're now number 5 economy in the world. We surpassed the United Kingdom. And so he starts breaking down some statistics and talking about the people moving in, moving out. So if you look at domestic people, the people that live in the United States, the number of people moving out of California compared to the number of people moving into California, there's a deficit of 150,000 that are moving into California. So there's more people moving out than people moving in domestically. So that's 150,000 people we're losing domestically in California. Now, if you look at foreign immigrants, it far surpasses the 150,000 of people moving into California. And then we have a supply and demand issue here in California.
Just
and
a little bit.
And the Bay Area because of that number. And so the number of housing units that are being built compared to the number of overall population growth is just not enough. But that huge population growth is because California is such a big global center. I mean, if you think about San Francisco, Oakland, San Jose, Cupertino, LA, Hollywood, San Diego, Monterey, Sacramento. I mean, these are large metropolitan areas that attract so many people globally, right?
Right.
And it was very interesting to see those statistics, because you have more foreigners moving into California that is causing the supply and demand issue.
Yeah, absolutely. That's where, with Measure 3, you can raise our tolls. It's not going to alleviate congestion, whether it be congestion on BART, on public transportation, or on the freeways. We just don't have. I mean, we're going to start doing double-decker freeways back. Again. I mean, we stopped because of Loma. We have no room to grow. I mean, we can only widen freeways so much, right? So I do feel we do need to improve our highways. We need to improve our roads. We need to improve all of these things to get to work or to get to home. But at what cost, right? I feel that Measure 3 personally, don't get mad at me, people, but I feel it's not a fair way of going about it. Because people that live in the peninsula, San Francisco, San Jose, that are maybe commuting, down the 101 corridor, they're really not going to see the toll. They're not going to feel the impact of a toll hike versus people that are living in the North Bay or in the East Bay that are commuting. I mean, keep in mind, there are people that are crossing 2 bridges to get to work, and there are people that are not paying any fee, any toll hikes to get to work. So to me, it just doesn't seem like a fair way of going about improving.
I would approve the $3 toll hike if they gave $5 billion to Elon Musk to build those tunnels. You drop your car in it and it shoots you off.
Yeah. No, we definitely need more transparency. I agree with you. I think money is wasted. But voters, we'll pass something, and then we'll never hear from it again. You know what I mean? We'll just hear on the local news that, hey, the Bay Bridge is, we're late on building it, we're over budget. And we just think, oh, gosh, what's this going to cost us, right?
Yeah. So after the economic update with Christopher Thornburg, I think what they're really looking at for this measure and why they're pushing this really comes down to the income statistics that they're seeing. So for the people that 80% of the people moving out of California make under $40,000 in income per year. 80% of the people moving into California make over $100,000 per year.
Where are these people living? Right?
Well, yeah, exactly. But they have more disposable income, which is why you're seeing prices skyrocket. And I mean, you're talking about for one person that moves out that has $40,000 disposable income, you have someone coming in with, let's say, $100,000 or $120,000 disposable income. Right. They're going to easily outbid the next $40,000 income person to get housing.
Oh, and we're seeing that right now.
Exactly.
I mean, absolutely. I mean, my clients, I see this. I also see this with, the organizations that I'm involved with, NAHREP and the realtors and everyone. I mean, anybody that you're talking to. I'm seeing East Bay residents that need a bigger home, right? What are they doing? They can't afford it, or there's low inventory, and so they're going out to Tracy, Mountain House, Manteca, all Central Valley, and then they're doing that treacherous commute to come to work.
Yeah.
So inventory. So I think whether Measure 3 passes or doesn't, home values are going to still keep rising. I mean, I was looking at my home pre-crash, right? 2008. Where was it in 2006? How high did it get? All that kind of stuff. I mean, we've surpassed that. Do I foresee home values decreasing? Not really. I mean,
because we have a supply and demand issue, and that's what's causing the rental market and the housing resale market to continue going up.
Right.
I mean, and so I think for Measure 3, supporters of it, I think they're looking at that data that we're having a huge number of people moving in that have higher income, more disposable income, and a $3 hike over a 7-year period is not a big deal to those people, and they can just go ahead and afford it. But on the flip side of that, I think you brought up a really good point, is that many of these high income earners tend to live on the peninsula and work there. Also tend to live in the South Bay, where they're not really crossing bridges. A lot of the people that are going to be crossing bridges are people from the North and East Bay. And so the North and East Bay make less income than people in the peninsula and South Bay. So this becomes a lot more costly for the people that have lower incomes.
Yeah, I think about my clients. I think about the people that I interact with on a 9 to 5 Monday through Friday basis, right? I look at I have a gauge on what their household income is. We have pretty heart-to-heart conversations, and this is going to be hitting the pocketbooks of them, and it's going to be a struggle. And that's where I like I said, I'm torn, because I definitely agree we need it, but it's just going to keep going. We're going to get hit with that in 2019, 2022, and 2025. Right? And then we still have inflation, and then so once this is done, they're going to come back and tell us, voters, hey, the fees to maintain it, to the bridges, the operation, we need another toll hike.
Yeah, their calculations are always off. I mean, look at the calculations for redoing the Bay Bridge, for the Carquinez Bridge, and so they're estimating $4.5 billion that's going to go toward 300 new BART cars, expansion of BART to San Jose. I mean, how long did it take them to expand BART to Antioch? And that entire area took them forever, right? Then expanding the ferry service, expanding highways, that's just going to take so many years, and usually $4.5 billion turns into $12 billion, and then they have to come out with another bond or measure to raise additional capital.
Right, exactly. And again, it's going to be affecting the people that are in the North Bay and the East Bay, because no one in the Peninsula or South Bay is crossing a bridge, right?
It's rare that they do it. Yeah.
What they're going to do is maybe add that toll lane and.
Yeah, because a lot of people in the South Bay, they're not commuting from, I mean, you have some, but the majority of them are not commuting. If they commute 2 hours long, they're not commuting to Fairfield or Sacramento. They're commuting more toward the Central Valley. And so you have a lot of people going to Stockton, Modesto right now that are just commuting to San Jose.
Yeah, I mean, we do need better, more reliable public transportation. We do need expansion. But I think this may not be the fair way. I'm seeing it from a fairness standpoint.
I know this is a tough question, but would you have an alternative?
I always say, let me look at the California books. Let me see where I need to trim the fat, right? I feel like we can definitely fifth economy. I mean, there's money. We're making money here. I just think that.
And Jerry Brown did a good job, I think, financially in taking California from a deficit to a surplus.
Yeah. I feel like we need to, God, I hate it when we have to raise taxes, right? Because again, if, we were talking to people about how wages are not, cost of living is going up, but wages are not increasing as fast. So I hate to see increases in taxes. I hate to see toll hikes. I hate to see all of this because predominantly my clients are blue collar. They're not all making over $100,000 as one income. They're making that as a 2-income household, and so I do take it personal that I'm hurting for their money because they're the ones that are going to get hit.
Well, okay, so you bring up another good point. Let's say a two-income household that might be making $120,000, but they're both likely commuting, and now it's really not a $120,000 household paying an extra $3 hike. They're really paying an extra $6 hike because there's two commuters.
Yeah, I think we need more transparency.
Well, you know how amazing I think government would be if we literally had audit companies go through their entire books and find all the missing money.
That's what I want. I would love that. That I think that's what we need. We need more transparency because I think people have lost faith in all of these projects, all of this money, and we're just, God, I was stunned when I got my vehicle registration and how much it had increased comparing it to my 2017 registration. And there's more vehicles in my household than just one. So I'm like, holy moly, but I do feel we need a solution. We do need to. I just think that we need to have maybe a board, a panel, a discussion, make it more transparent, hear the voters and their suggestion and ideas on how to make this possible. I
would love to see a study where they break down the demographics of the people that are really commuting and where they're coming from, and then break down how this hike would really affect those households compared to the data that's given by economists, because many of them will provide a region, but there's a lot of things within that region that create variables.
I definitely think that if you're gonna raise this for me, yes, I need transparency. I need to see this happening. It's not let's just wham bam thank you ma'am, right, and then forget about it, because that's the other problem is that we'll pass all these things and we don't really know what's going on with it. Yes, I'm driving down 580 and I see my toll lane, was added. So I live in Livermore, my office is in Hayward, and I'm all over the place. I'm in Pinole today, right? So I'm all over the road, and I don't see the congestion alleviation on 580 because I'm commuting with everyone that's trying to get to Stockton or Modesto or Central Valley people. I haven't seen it lightened up. It hasn't lightened the commute. So if we're talking public transportation, like you said, we need to take it out to really where these people are. These people are out there. BART's not going out there. They've got a train, but that train only goes so far. So I feel that we need to work. Maybe that's my suggestion, is maybe we need to work inward versus maybe inward, because people are moving further out to get to work, to afford the homes.
Well, that would be that would go back to the housing supply. Yeah. But see, that goes back to the housing supply.
Yeah.
If cities allowed, there's many cities that just don't want people to build skyscrapers, even if they're 4 or 5 stories high. They don't want that. And the problem with that is you need it, because if people were able to live closer to work, number one, there's plenty of studies that show people are happier when they live closer to work.
Right.
Number one.
Road rage.
Yeah. Number two, there's less commute time. You save on pollution. People may not necessarily need a car at that point. because now they have access to much better public transportation locally.
Right.
There's a lot of different benefits to it, but unfortunately, there's a lot of people or a lot of cities that will stop projects based on little loopholes where they can stop a project. So hopefully we're going to see a lot more developers on the state level. The state just enacted a new law that basically states if you're a developer and you want to build a project that fits within the city's current zoning, the city cannot step in and stop you for any reason.
That's great, right?
Yeah.
Let's see how.
In fact, the first developer, and I forgot what city in California, but the first developer just enacted or just pulled the trigger using that law.
Wow.
Because the city didn't want them to build.
I'm going to Google that.
Yeah. Look it up. It was just like 1 or 2 weeks ago it was announced, and now the city can't do anything to stop it. If they do, they get like $100,000 fine, and then there's like a daily fine. People are talking about the city possibly suing the state to have that right to deny projects. Many people think that, in fact, we'll have to look it up, but I think it's Cupertino. It might be Cupertino.
We definitely need it. I feel, yes, we need to live closer to home. It's quality of life. People are commuting and are not seeing their kids. I mean, I don't feel like my commute is 26 miles from home to office, and I feel like I don't spend enough time with my children. We're eating dinner late. Like, it would be nice to have congestion lighten up. I mean, if I go into my office non-commute hours, I'm there in no time.
And see, that's the other debate. What good is all this additional public transportation or expansion of highways if you still have to commute 2 or 3 hours per day for some people? What's the point? I mean, people want to live closer to their work, which is why you see a lot of the Bay Area that provide. I think the Bay Area last year provided 20% of the jobs throughout California. So when you have that kind of job supply, I mean,
it's hard. I mean, pretty much, majority of my clients that live outside of the Bay Area, right? So I'm talking past Livermore, they're commuting in because they don't want, they want to keep the wages. And they're either getting into Dublin, Pleasanton, and leaving the car there and maybe jumping on BART. And some of them say, no, I need my vehicle at all times because in case of an emergency, I need to get to my children. So it's just, that's where I don't see it. I don't see it lining up. I just see how is it going to impact real estate. Real estate's just going to keep climbing because of the supply and demand that we have here. We do need more housing. We do need it to be more affordable. It's a catch-22.
Yeah.
I don't feel like there's a real perfect solution.
So Hawaii right now has a volcano on the main island that's still erupting. They don't know when it's going to stop. They're having to evacuate people from their homes. I believe there's no deaths right now, but there's a lot of property damage. Now, what's surprising is that there's people flying into it to go see the volcano and get close up and take videos and photos, and they're warning people to stay away because it's not just the danger of getting burned, but there's all these gases that are toxic. So if you're planning on going to Hawaii, to the main island to look at lava, don't do it.
It's like these storm chasers.
Storm chasers,
Storm chasers for volcano chasers or whatever.
Yeah. Now, so Hawaii's dealing with the volcano right now. In earthquakes are the big worry here in California.
Yeah.
Now, there hasn't been a major earthquake since '89, really. And there's a lot of talk of, well, we see the data, we see that eventually the chances are something big is going to hit.
Yep.
So, in your world with insurance,
yay!
how easy is it to get earthquake insurance, and should everyone have it? And
well, I mean, easy to get, right? It's easy to get. California Earthquake Authority has made it easy. They've modified the policy from its original inception when CEA, I'll just use the shortage. when they first rolled out, there wasn't a big option plan. So in 2017, they added more packages, more coverages, more where you could tailor it. But it's super easy to get. It's about contacting your insurance agent and getting a quote and fine-tuning it to your needs basis, because that's really how earthquake is should be sold, and tailor it to your needs. But yeah, I mean, if someone said to me right now, Zulien, I want earthquake insurance, when can I get it? Today. We're talking minutes. I do recommend absolutely property owners to have it.
Now, what limits should they get?
Well, the way it works, it'll match your dwelling coverage. So the earthquake policy is going to mirror your primary residence, your homeowner policy coverage as far as the structure. So it's always going to mirror that. So then that's where we go into do you want to include personal property or not? What's important to you? Do you really just care about, the structure of it? And the reason I say this is because we're talking more coverage, more policy premium. It's going to cost you more. Or so, by getting rid of this, makes it more affordable. And that's the other misconception that people have, is they say earthquake insurance is so expensive. It used to be, right? It used to be. Now, with the changes that they've made it more affordable, because you can get rid of coverages that will reduce the premium. So then that way you're found where you could afford it. And my question is always to them is, do you, at the time of an earthquake, do you want to be 100% responsible for the damages to your home? Or do you want to be 10%, 15% responsible for the damages to your home?
Now, if your home has been reinforced, or if you have a newer home that was built with reinforcements, should you still have earthquake insurance?
Yeah, and the reason for that is because, there are companies out there that will retrofit your home, but they don't guarantee that it's going to still be standing, right? Nothing is really, it's not guaranteed. I mean, even newer homes, depending on the severity of the quake, it may not withstand the force of it. So, yes, earthquake insurance is important. If you have equity in your home, if your home is completely paid off, these are more reasons why you should have earthquake insurance. Because when, we'll use my house as an example. If my house is completely damaged in an earthquake, there's no bank that's going to, give me a loan on a damage. They're going to come out to my house and laugh in my face, right, when it's time to appraise it. And then, so the bank's not going to give me any money to rebuild or repair the home. So that's why you need to have it beforehand. I mean, we just had this little minor quake. I say a hiccup. What was it, last week? I mean, so Facebook was like reporting, oh my God, did you feel it? Did you feel it? And people, people were calling the office and inquiring about it, because unfortunately, earthquake insurance is out of sight, out of mind. It's on the back burner. We don't see it. Volcano, people on the island, they see it every day. So it's like, this little puppy can go off any minute, or it's in their minds, it's in their sight. Versus for us, we don't see it, so we tend to forget about living in earthquake country until little stuff starts happening. So we start seeing activity.
Have you heard anything about California Assembly Bill 2681? This is for the potentially vulnerable buildings.
I haven't.
So this is a bill that right now it's making its way through the state Congress. And so it's AB 2681. And this would actually require every city and county in the state of California to create a list of vulnerable buildings. So this would apply to any 5 or more units. So 1 to 4 unit homes would be exempt, but this would also apply to commercial properties and every property, right? Except government buildings and hospitals.
Of course.
Yeah.
The ones we need.
Yeah. So this would require the cities and counties to supply the state of California this database of all these buildings that are vulnerable. And I think if if you were built prior to 1996, you're automatically on this list. People are afraid that with this type of bill going through, that what's next? I mean, okay, so the state gets this list of properties, so what's next? And I think the reason why they're proposing this bill is because they want to find out how many buildings may be vulnerable to an earthquake, and what can we do to start preventing major catastrophe, major property damage, right? And then at the same time save lives if you're able to retrofit all these buildings.
Right.
But with that comes, well, what's the expense of this going to be?
Right.
Who's going to pay for it? What inspections are you going to require? And once the city starts putting a list of these vulnerable buildings together, what's the city going to do? The state may come back and say, hey, you just need an inspection by an engineer once every 5 or 10 years. Well, a city may say, we want this on a yearly basis, or we want, like in Berkeley with the balcony inspections, where you have to do destructive damage testing, where you have to rip out part of the balcony to see if it's damaged. But if it looks okay, well, now you've already damaged it and you need to fix the damage again, right? And by the way, that type of inspection looks like it might even pass at the state level. So that might be another state bill coming through this year. So a lot of this stuff is coming through. So I wanted to see if you had heard about this, and how would this potentially affect property owners?
Well, it's going to be a cost thing, right? So whether it be selling the property, listing, insuring the property, all of these things just went through my mind. Yeah, absolutely. I think it's good information to have. It's good data to have as far as the place you're calling home or the place you're calling work, how sound it is, right? Because,
to be honest, I feel they can hire a company to go through public tax records, pull up every year built, and then there's your list, right?
Right. I think, there's nothing wrong with
they
the
could
check
hire
and
real
balance.
estate agents.
Yeah, there's nothing wrong with checks and balances, right? Making it informational bill. But I feel that there's more coming when we do this, and and it's always going to get passed down to the owner of the building, and getting it sound and getting it ready, and all of these. I'm just seeing all this red tape coming up. Like, you can't live here, you can't work here. There's limitations. San Francisco comes to mind to me, really, because they're older buildings, right? Or maybe downtown Oakland, buildings down there. That's where my mind is sort of going, but I'm feeling that.
It's a tough debate, because at what point do you say, hey, we live in a place where there's high chances of earthquakes, and in fact, if you actually look at the U.S. Geologist website, we have earthquakes every minute that happen. Most of them are so small you don't feel anything, and there's no property damage. But eventually we're going to have one or two that are going to cause a lot of damage. And we've seen, I think, 1906, the San Francisco one, 1989. And there's been a lot of other smaller ones, not as big, but they've done quite a bit of damage. I mean, the one in Napa, too. That wasn't a huge earthquake, but it caused a lot of property damage.
And people were not prepared. They didn't.
Correct.
They didn't have earthquake insurance. They felt that they were not in the zone for severity of it. So
this debate then goes, well, at what point do you say, hey, this building is not safe, we need to have it retrofitted in order to save property damage, save the economy from crashing through the financial market, save lives. But then at what point, where's the money going to come from?
Where's the money going to come from? And the other thing is retrofitting, right? How big? What is big? Like, my retrofitting, how much is it going to sustain? Is it going to sustain a 7.0 earthquake? Is it going to sustain an 8.0 earthquake? Right. So, I mean, now they talk about that it's going to be bigger than Loma, right? Because we haven't had one in so many years. So we think about. I definitely think we need more transparency with those buildings. So I feel there's, when we're passing this stuff, we're passing it because we need this, but we also need the limitations to come with it and what we're going to be voting for. I feel like we're voting open-ended. Mm-hmm. And I'd like to see some close-ended or mid-closed, because we want to see some guidance. Where is your thought process going into getting this done, right? Because I'm just seeing ka-ching, ka-ching, ka-ching go in my mind from a property owner or a building owner perspective. And then that's gonna trickle down to whoever's leasing the space or whoever is renting or living there. So mm-hmm. It's gonna come back down to the consumer.
Yeah.
So yeah, we do need, inspections. We do need to know where we're living. We need that data. But I think it should be sort of like a nutritionist information. When we passed all of this information about how many calories.
Yeah.
Maybe it should be at the discretion of the owner then, in what they're going to do. But also pass it down to the people that are living in the units and them knowing or leasing, like, hey, this is what happened. This is where I'm living. Do I want to continue living or leasing here, or do I find somewhere else to live? But we can't force, I don't know, I just feel like we do need to save lives. People need to be informed. And then maybe then we can talk about cost.
Yeah.
I don't know. What are you thinking?
Yeah, it's a tough debate.
Yeah.
It's a tough debate because, you could see arguments on both sides. Yeah. And then where's the middle? And if you find the middle, my God, it's still going to be extremely costly.
Yeah.
And
Exactly.
then I think even if everyone got on the same page and said, yeah, we need to fix these buildings, retrofit them, we save our property, we save lives, and, we're able to survive major earthquakes. Great. Where's the money coming from?
Mm-hmm. Well, then maybe that's where we need to have that panel, that board, where we need to have, first responders on there. We need to have, restructural engineers on there. We need to have the panel needs to be wide professionals.
Yeah.
It just can't be politicians saying, well, this needs to get done, because we need to know what's the cost, what's the, what's this all going to be,
Yeah.
So there needs to be more a wide range of people inputting suggestion and ideas on how this is going to help everyday people.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Okay.
More transparency.
Well, we'll leave it at that.
Thanks.
And thanks for being on the podcast.
Appreciate
now,
it.
Before we cut off, if someone wants to contact you for more information on insurance, what's the best contact info for you?
They can call my office at 510-265-1600. They can go on my website. There's a toll-free number.
ZulienMorales.com.
Yep, absolutely. And email. There's,
Perfect.
Easy ways. Yeah. Awesome.
Perfect.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, thanks for being on the podcast. And great discussion. And we'll see how Measure 3, what happens on June 5th.
I know. Thank you. Yeah, let's see. Get out and vote. Vote is important. Yeah. That's our message. Get out and vote. Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you so much for listening to the podcast. Thank you to our producer, Sam Lemon. Please subscribe, like, comment, and share the podcast. Remember, you can listen to the podcast on iTunes, Podbean, iHeartRadio, Google Play, SoundCloud, and anywhere else you listen to podcasts. For more information on my business as a property manager and real estate team, go visit my website at marcguzman.com. I really want to thank all of you for listening. It means the world to me, and I hope today's episode provides you value in your day-to-day life. I created this podcast to help showcase the many great people that live in this world and help share some knowledge that I've learned along the way in life. Again, thank you for listening. Check out our sponsors, and I'll catch you on the next episode.